Shalom WJC family. It's time for our weekly Torah Talk. This week in Shul, we will be reading Parshat Haazinu, coming very close to the end of the Torah, which we will read, of course, on Simchat Torah in a week. The holiday of Sukkot begins next week and will culminate with Simchat Torah. But Haazinu comes now just after Yom Kippur, and I hope everyone had a meaningful holiday yesterday, a meaningful fast, and just before Sukkot and the end of the Torah reading. And it's interesting, I think, as a wrap-up from Yom Kippur itself, a wrap-up of these Yamim Noraim, these days of awe, these high holidays. Haazinu is basically a poem. It's a song, and Moses presents it as a way for the people to remember the entire book of Devarim, the entire book of Deuteronomy, this last book of the Torah that Moses is using. It's basically his last speech he'll make to the people for them to establish themselves in the land when they go into Israel without him. And now he's taking this whole book and he's trying to boil it down to a few verses in a poem or a song. Why? Because that's a memory technique. And I think our real challenge in this day after Yom Kippur is similar. What will we remember from these last 10 days? It's not enough to just do the rituals from Rosh HaShanah to Yom Kippur, but we want to bring all that forward into the year ahead and try and use them to stay on a path that's purposeful and meaningful and connected to the tafkid, to the task that God gave us in the world. One way to do that is to carry the songs with us. Maybe there was a prayer, a poem, something in our supplemental booklet or something in the Machzor that really spoke to you this year. Take some time to get a photocopy of it or to find a version of it online or ask us for it, call your clergy, rabbis or cantor, and ask us for it, and we'll make sure you have it, and leave it someplace where you'll see it, on the refrigerator or next to your bed or on your desk. Someone told me last year that they did that with a piece of their booklet, with one of the pages of the supplemental booklet, and I found that so touching. What a great way to take a song or a poem, just like Haazinu, into the year ahead. There's another idea that the Vilna Gaon brings. He says that on the very night of Ne'ilah, so last night, at the end of Yom Kippur, you should come home and bang the first nail into your sukkah. Now, most of our sukkahs don't use hammer and nails anymore. We use sukkah kits, so I don't know if that's turn the right screw connector into the pipe or whatever it might be. But obviously it's really metaphorical. The point that the Vilna Gaon was making was we leave Yom Kippur, we should immediately do an action. Do a mitzvah. Start the year, now that your ledger is all clear, with a mitzvah, so you'll start on the positive side and hopefully stay there. And I love that teaching of the Vilna Gaon, not only because of this idea of bringing that idea that we're always sort of trying to keep the balance of our lives to the positive, but also, and maybe more importantly, that he's trying to habituate us immediately following the high holidays to come back and to do a mitzvah and to pick a mitzvah and to carry it forward. All the good ideas we had over the holidays. Maybe you had the ideas you should call your relatives more. Maybe you had the idea that you should come to synagogue more. Or whatever it might be. Or maybe you had the idea that you just need to spend more time alone and reflecting and being more cognizant of your behaviors in the world. I did all of those things. I had all those ideas and more because that's how the services are designed to take us through, whether it's Yizkor, to have us thinking about our families, or the time in shul with people we don't see necessarily at other times, to remind us how important coming to synagogue is and being part of a community, to how we prioritize our time for ourselves and for others. It's all in there. And now, what the Vilna Gaon is telling us is do something to act on it now. Make that phone call, do that mitzvah, set up a time in your calendar for 5 minutes of reflection every day, or just Friday mornings before Shabbat, or whatever it might be, but do something to turn it into a habit. The ideas of the high holidays, right? The high holidays, mostly we spend our time in synagogue. Certainly on Yom Kippur, we spend all day in the synagogue. But that's not how we're supposed to spend our lives in Judaism. We're supposed to go out and do and practice. And by doing those practices right after Yom Kippur, by starting this week coming to synagogue, or starting with Sukkot, building a sukkah, or hosting people in your sukkah, or thinking about how we prioritize our time and making a change to your calendar today. That's how we take that high holidays experience and turn it into a habit. Ideas into habits through memory tricks like Haazinu, or active doing like the Vilna Gaon tells us when it comes to our Sukkot. I hope that we're all able to take that hopefully beautiful and meaningful experience of the high holidays forward into our lives as habits, as actions, and that we'll all live better, purposeful, and meaningful lives because of it. Shabbat Shalom.